All right, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. Let's take a look at some rates. See what we're looking at. I don't look at this much because I don't chase the money, but a lot of people, when they leave the house, they want to make as much money as they can. So they want to this is some information that they need to follow those rates and get in the right lanes. It looks like, to me, it says rates are increasing from January to February, but just the eyeball test to me says they've stayed about the same. And then if you add in how diesel prices have gone up so much over the past month and over the past year, the rates should be going up much higher. But rates are still good as of February. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see this map down here. Let me expand a little bit. This rate right here is sort of misleading. It says the rates are 322 out west. That would be along the west coast. You're not going to find that average in Nevada and Utah and Idaho and all that. That large rate right there is if you want to run up and down the west coast. If you're coming out of California, you're not going to always see that average right there. Now, this is down here is where I live. I've always been told that in the wintertime, rates really go down in the south because people want to escape that cold weather and come down here. But this is sort of what I see all the time. Rates in Texas are always a little depressed over what they are in most places. But there's enough freight to make a living. And right here's what I've always said. If you look at that 345, you follow that circle all the way down to, Georgia. And in that area is where you're going to find your best rates. If you want to chase that money, you go back and forth right there. But there you go. This 293, I would say that's a little bit high also. Georgia, Alabama, it might be a little bit more than that, but Florida really brings that average down. And then $3 a mile for the Northeast. That's a little bit misleading too because your fuel is very high, and then you have lots of tolls up there and lots of traffic. So take that, you got to add everything in to those rates because it doesn't all pay the same. Okay, let's look at some load boards here. Let's go to the DAT board. Let's use the DAT board. As you can see, I've got all kinds of apps on my phone that I use. Some of these apps like Coyote, Uber, Convoy, I hardly use them because in my area, they're just not very good. The freight rates are not there, and the kind of freight they have just isn't what I want to run. But in other areas, you find Coyote loads that pay very good in Uber and Convoy, and they work out great for other people. So you're going to have to find what works for you in your area. But we'll use a DAT board because it just has everybody, even if they have their own load boards, they'll still throw their loads on the DAT board or truck stop. Truck stop. All right, so this first one up here, this is something I see. People who have this used to call me quite a bit, wanting me to take this one, Houston to Fort Smith, Arkansas. But it looks like it pays good, but it's just you have to have hazmat, you have to have a TWIC card, you have to be certified to go into the port, all kinds of different things. Going into the port, picking up containers. Some people like it, but I'm here to tell you it is a pain in the butt. It's some of these things you have to know the questions to ask. If they're asking you to go to the port and pick up a container, the first thing you have to ask is, does it already have a chassis? Because they won't tell you until you book the load and you're headed down there, oh, you have to go to this other part of the port pick up a chassis, they have to find the right chassis, unstack it, set it down on the ground, you pick it up, then go to this other part of the port and get your whatever you're picking up. So it can be, that have a really good rate on it, and then all of a sudden you're spending 4 hours in the port, so that rate doesn't look so good. Schneider, I've heard guys like running with Schneider. They're extremely convenient, Schneider is, because and the same goes with JB Hunt. They've got so many locations that the deadhead is cut to a very bare minimum, and you can go, if you want to stay around your house, those two work out perfect because they got so many locations with preloaded trailers. You can get back and forth through the house anytime you want, but there's lots of appointment times and lots of drop-off appointment times, and their freight doesn't pay very much. And when I say appointment times, it's not first come, first serve. That's what you really want, is first come, first serve, because you want to pick up on your schedule, not theirs. Here we go. This is Swift, and I'm looking at just loads for next Monday. I probably should have opened this up a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm looking at loads for the weekend. So let's look at loads for the entire week here. And my hometown is Nacogdoches, and 150 miles will cover Dallas, Shreveport, and Houston. Which Houston and Dallas, you would think major cities, they'd be great markets. They're not. Okay, so this first one you see at the top, if you look down toward the middle of that ad, you'll see it says straight B. That means it's a straight box truck. Houston to Miami, close to $4 a mile, but let's look at it closer. Team drivers. And here's another straight box truck. You find a lot of straight box trucks. I've thought about buying a box truck, but I think it's sort of fool's gold. Most of the rates you see are like this one right here. So Ennis to Texarkana, pays about $2 a mile. Not terrible, but what are you going to get when you get to Texarkana? You might be deadheading a long ways. I don't know. I have to look into the box truck stuff a little bit closer. A lot of Schneider. Here's one from Landstar. That's a terrible rate. What I've been seeing from Landstar lately is some terrible van rates. Terrible. They start out very low, and they don't want to come up on the rate any at all. I don't know why this is not cooperating. Alright, I guess we won't take a closer look at that. Here's another straight box. Yeah, sometimes you'll be searching through here and you'll find the perfect load where you want to go, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, it's for a box truck. Here's one. These are the ones I like. You find these round trippers, and let's see. Why is this doing this today? There we go. Okay, must have port certification and chassis. So these, this is one of those where you think, oh great, it's a round trip, and then you find out you need your own chassis. But Landstar puts a lot of hazmat loads out on the board. There's not too many individuals like myself with running on their own authority that can afford hazmat insurance. Here's another thing you can do is let's take a look at this. Houston, Texas to Hayward, California. Right off the bat, you're saying, oh man, it doesn't pay very much. 1,900 miles, only $1,200. But let's take a closer look at this. It's a loadout. if you don't have a trailer, you can do a loadout, and these people are going to pay you $1,200 to use their trailer. Think about it. You can't beat that. And it's a 53-foot van with swing doors. They're only allowing you to use it for one load, but you're already up in the game because normally these loadouts, they don't pay you very much, if at all, depending on how long you use it. Some of these newer trailers, they'll say, oh, you can use it for 7 days and we'll pay you $100, or you can use it for 10 days and we'll pay you $50, something to that effect. These people are going to pay you $1,200, and you can pick up a load with it. So, man, you can't beat that. Oh, let's see. This is one I was looking at, this Swift load. On this board, it's Houston to Shafter, California, and they're not even paying $2 a mile. But on their board, I saw one go for close to $3 a mile. Surprising, because so many people are trying to get those loads going out to California, and they'll take them for just about anything. Now here's some right here. Look at this right here. This could be a gold mine, or it could be a bad thing. Houston to Baytown. 27 miles, pays $550. Let's take a look at it. Containers. Now these people actually put information in here, which is good. Most don't. You look down the bottom, it says ready to pull, 4 hook and drop loads. You could make some real good money right there, if you're willing to roll those dice. If you've got a TWIC and you have to get your SCAC and your UIAA. I don't have that because I just don't want to go on the port, don't want to deal with it. But that right there, you could call them up and say, hey, I'll take all 4 of those, and might be able to do them all in one day. Or you might get to the port and there's a line backed up and it takes you 3 hours to get in. You just don't know. Again, you've got to think of power only differently. It took me a while to switch up because I was so used to doing flatbed. And flatbed, you've got to add in time. If you're going to pick something up, you've got to think it's going to take them an hour to load it. It's going to take me an hour to tarp and strap, or more. And when I was looking for flatbed loads, I'd get to these short runs, and that were 100 miles or less, and they'd pay $500 or $600, and I would say I don't want to even deal with it. But power only is different. You can't think of it in the same terms, because power only, you could be in and out of that place in 15 minutes. So it's more likely that you'll get in an extra load that day, instead of spending 2 or 3 hours loading, 2 or 3 hours unloading, and then you've only made $500 in a day. Here's one that, if you want to do a back and forth, say you live in between Houston and Dallas, Fort Worth. You can make a very good living picking up empty trailers and taking from Houston to Dallas, and then you can find some going straight back. And this one right here, you'll probably get the very minimum I've seen these for that you can get is $600. But even if you're getting the minimum for that, you can pick up this trailer in Houston. $600 will get you to Dallas. Find one in Dallas, pick it up, you can be back in Houston the same day. So it's $1,200 round trip minimum. It's empty trailers, 500 miles a day. I mean, it's good money at the end of the week. People think, oh, I don't want to drive that much, or I can't find loads. Well, got to get a little creative. All right, here's a round tripper. Let's look at this one. Houston, round trip to Houston. There's another hazmat container. This year, over this past year, the Port of Houston has really become busy with these hazmat any type of container. Another hazmat. Okay, let's change markets here. Let's go to, how about Atlanta? Same deal. Let's look out for a week. Oh, gotta get some coffee. Okay, so if you just want to, if you want to make things easy for yourself and not think about things too much, just book a load and go. This was the perfect one for you. Birmingham, Alabama to Washington. It looks like it's an empty trailer. Let's take a closer look at it. It's a loadout. Man, it's the opposite of what I was just saying. It's not a no-brainer. But this one, if you can find a van load going from, you can get this loadout trailer, book it. They'll probably pay you a little bit, very little. But then you can go over to the van side where rates are a little bit better, find you a load from Alabama to Washington, and just do one load that week. Probably make you about $8,000. Just sit and drive. You can do this the easy way, or you can try to run, be on this load board all day, every day, flipping and refreshing, and try to make, get those really good paying loads. I see it quite a bit where these guys, claiming I make $8 and $10 a mile, and what they don't tell you is that they have time to sit around and wait for those loads. If you're in a market like myself, I normally don't find any loads within 50, 75 miles of the house. Most of my loads come out of Houston or Dallas area when I'm on the load boards. So I can't just sit at the house and refresh this load board and wait for those big paying loads, because then I have to drive 2 to 3 hours to go get them. It just doesn't work out for me. But if you're sitting in Houston, or you're sitting in Dallas, and you have time to sit and wait, occasionally you will get those $10 a mile loads, but there's always conditions to them. So if they're paying a lot, there's usually a reason. Okay, here you go. How about this? Let's look at this one. Jefferson, Georgia to Colorado. 25,000 pounds, pays $8,500. What's the catch? Let's look. Requires a team. Okay. So they can actually put that on the front there, but they don't. Okay, here's one. Brazelton, Georgia to Pennsylvania. Solo or team. So that's not a bad paying trip. It'd take you a day to do that. $1,800 in the bank, 11 a.m. pickup. So not a bad trip right there. You can definitely, you'll be able to talk them into a little bit more on that rate too. Now here's one, I like going out in this Salt Lake area. So you got 1,800 miles. You could definitely get $3 a mile going out there, but let's see what the hell. Oh, it's a loadout trailer on top of that. So, you can make some good money with those loadout trailers. I'm sort of wary sometimes of those loadout trailers, because you might get there and you've already booked your van load, and you get there and the trailer's in terrible condition. So, let's see. Here's one. Let's take a look at that. Dry van, 50-footer, swing doors, load out for 7 days. Brand new dry van, empty trailer. So, if you want to do loadouts, that looks like Atlanta's got plenty of them. And this Big Bird, they do a lot of that. There's a few of those that do those. Again, I've said this before. A lot of stuff going to Orting, Washington. Oh, great. Let's see. Yep, another loadout. But that one had roll doors. Got to be careful of that. People don't want to put certain kind of freight on roll doors. You might not be able to find a load for that. So before you book the trailer, call around. This probably doesn't say, but so we got 400 loads around Atlanta, Georgia area in power only. let's look at it this way. Let's look at the high on that board. You can sort it by longest trip, shortest trip, smallest deadhead, highest rate. Let's look at the highest rate and see what the big money's paying. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this one right here at the top is for an auto carrier. No, thank you. And the rates aren't that great. No, I was telling a friend this, when I look at this board, there's not a whole lot of times when I just opened up and look at something and I see a rate that just is outstanding. If I do, normally it's because there's a catch. It has something wrong with it. But, these rates like these, at least these people right here, this one at the top, Alabama to California, it's 2,100 miles, $4,400, over $2 a mile, just barely. But at least they put a rate out there. You know that they're going to pay that, so you can. That gives you a starting point to negotiate, and you're going to get more money out of them. It's a stack of chassis with chain. You have to have your own chains and binders with this one. If you don't have chains and binders, usually for this, you probably need about 5 chains and binders. So it's not something that's going to take a whole lot of room in your truck. But it looks like there's several of those. I love it. Even though they're putting their rates on there and their rates aren't paying very much, at least that's the starting point, and you can start your negotiating from there. If they're putting down here, they're only offering $1 a mile. You're not going to call those people. They're not going to come up to $3 a mile. Okay, here's one that's a drop and hook. Super easy. It's kind of heavy. Well, it isn't kind of heavy. It's very heavy. Another catch right there. It picks up at 6 o'clock at night. But if you like driving at night, that's right up your alley. But, their starting rate is below $2 a mile. You can get them up to, I'm sure you probably get them up $2 a mile or better. But at least they have a rate on there. You know where to start. Here's some good ones. Some Swift, 900 miles, paying $3 a mile. Take a look at it real quick. It doesn't say if it's drop and hook. Some of these, like for Swift, JB Hunt, and Schneider, it'll be a good rate out there. But what they don't tell you right off the bat is that it's going from Augusta, Georgia to Jinx, Oklahoma, but they want you to go to somewhere else in Georgia, pick up an empty trailer, and then go do a live load in in Augusta, Georgia. Then when you get to the other end, you unload, and then you have to take that trailer to a different point. So you have to know what you're looking at. Here's one, Smyrna, Georgia to Santa Fe, New Mexico. The rate's not very good, only $2 a mile, less than that. But when you get to Santa Fe, New Mexico, especially doing power only, you're not going to find anything. If you do, you're going to be very lucky to find a load coming out of there. The rates just look, well, these are all box trucks. Now here's a good rate. Pittsview, Alabama to New Orleans, $1,400. Boy, that board is very slow today. Come on, you can do it. Oh. There we go. No information on it, but man, that's a good load right there. I do that all day. New Orleans isn't a great market, but you can find power only coming out of there fairly easy. It's not going to have a great rate on it. But I take that back. Sometimes you will find the oil field equipment coming out of there going over to Houston or Texas somewhere, and you'll get $4 a mile occasionally. This is 48 foot, so it's probably a flatbed trailer loaded down with something. They don't say you need your own equipment, so it probably has everything strapped down. But yeah, that's a decent load right there. A 1-day run for 1,400. Again, I have to say this again. You have to think of power only differently than you do regular van or flatbed or reefer loads. On those other ones, you're always planning, for a couple of hours at least to get loaded and a couple of hours to get unloaded. And maybe there's an appointment time to get loaded and unloaded. Most power only is you pull in there, back up to it, hook and go. So you don't have a whole lot of wasted time. All right, let's take a look at a different market here. How about we go this? Let's do this. Cedar City, Utah. Ooh. And see if there's any power only loads out there. Guess everybody's on the load board this morning trying to find some money. Oh, dat board, don't do that. All these load boards are like this occasionally. They just very slow. Sometimes they don't want to display anything. I get this from dat board quite a bit. That's why you have to be careful where you're going, because you might get $4 a mile to go out to Cedar City, Utah, but then you've got one load coming out for the next week. So be very careful. Now we can expand this and to include Salt Lake City and come on, there we go, and Reno, and you'll have more options. Now look at this. This is obviously it's a something, team load right there. But I've said this before. People go, they flip on the load board, they do a refresh, and there's that $9,200 for a load. Boom, they're on the phone, they're calling for it. I want it. But look, it's multiple stops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stops. And right away, look at the rate. It's not paying $2 a mile. Well, just barely $2 a mile. Exactly $2 a mile. So right off the bat, it pays crap, $2 a mile. And then you have 7 stops. But people don't think about it. They'll call on this load. This load will be gone pretty quick because they see that big number up there and they think, I can make $9,200 in a week, driving team. Think about it. It's not that good. But people will take it, unfortunately. Let's see. Let's look at this one. Ogden, Utah to Shoemaker, Pennsylvania, or Shoemakersville, Pennsylvania. Paper products, round trip. I'd have to look at that a little bit closer. I don't know if it's 1,000 miles one way or not. But, the person who booked that, let's say all these numbers are correct. You have a person looking on the load board, they see a load that pays $9,200. They want that when they call on it, and they pass this load up. This load is half the miles of the other load, and it pays not much less. It's $6,000. It pays $3,000 less, but you can get 2 of these in the time you can do, probably in less time than you can do that other one, because it has 7 stops, and you've already made $12,000 instead of $9, and you've driven less. So think about it. Look at the what the load is paying, how many stops, and do your homework, because those people are taking those $9,200 loads when they can, they're making $9,200 a week, and they're busting their butts. 7 stops, $2 a mile, and here's a load that they can do 2 and make more money, drive less. Doesn't make any sense to me. People do it every day. So there are good loads coming out of the West, but you have to find the spots. Reno, Salt Lake City. Normally, Las Vegas, you're not going to find much coming out of there, but I see a few coming out of here. Let's look at one. Las Vegas to Indiana. Not much information on it, but if you go to Vegas, if you're taking a load to Vegas, I would jump on that pretty quick. I'd try to negotiate with them a little bit, but I wouldn't lose that load coming out, because there's not much coming out of Vegas. So as you can see, let's see if this is a team load or what. Yeah, team load. There's some decent loads coming out of that area, but you have to get close to Salt Lake City or Reno, and I believe it's about 500 miles apart. I don't know why. I have to look at the map again, but it's a day's deadhead between the two, but it's worth it to get that really good load. Let's look at this one. Salt Lake City to Oklahoma City pays $2.25, something like that, a mile. Empty trailer. People say, I wouldn't take that $2 a mile load. If you can pick up an empty trailer, have no weight on your truck if you're coming back out of those mountains, you're not messing up your truck, you're getting good fuel mileage. I would do it. Going through here and let you guys look at what's available up there. Yeah, don't fall for the Laredo loads. It's a terrible market to try to get out of to make a decent rate. There's plenty of loads down there, but too many guys live down there or across the border and want to get back down there. Here's another one you have to be careful of. Utah down to Tulsa, Arizona. Not a very good rate to begin with, but that's a bad market unless you have a reefer in a certain time of year. All right, let's take a look at one more market. How about Chicago, Illinois? Let's back this down to 50 miles. And we're looking at power only here, so be aware of that. All right, these Impala freight people, this obviously is going to be a team load, but I'll look at it anyway. Yep, team. And there again, I'm going to emphasize this over and over, and you probably get tired of it, but somebody's going to pick this up thinking, I can make $9,500 in a week. But look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4 stops, 4,600 miles, barely pays $2 a mile. It's just not worth it. You and whoever's your team driver are driving your butts off for what's going to turn out to be, because if you think about it, every one of those stops, you're going to be there a little while. So it's not just driving. It's not just making $2 a mile. You're wasting your time, and that $2 a mile is going down and down and down for every stop. Let's see, Illinois to Sparks, Nevada. One good area going to another one. See the catch. Round trip. There you go. It's always, if it's all paying more than it should, there's always a catch. Let's see what this one is. Same thing. Okay, Hammond, Indiana. This is a round trip. See if they have any information. Hazmat, the drop in New York. Not a terrible load. I don't know where that town is in New York, but all right, here's one, Indiana to Centennial, Colorado. There's a very good load right there, over $4 a mile, and that's exactly what you need going into Colorado. Some of those places will let you use that trailer as a loadout to come back, so that could be a double bonus on that one. Here again, this one pays only $3 a mile, but let's look at it. Stack of 3 flatbeds, straps required. I hear people all the time saying, well, you've got flatbed equipment, you can do more loads. I very, very rarely. As a matter of fact, I've only used my one chain one time. I've used my straps maybe 3 or 4 times, but you can go on the internet, you can buy a box of 10 straps for they're about, if you buy that many, $9 or $10 a piece. They've probably gone up quite a bit since I last bought them, but you spend $100, get you 10 straps, and get you a bar to tighten these things down with. These stack of flatbeds, you usually only need about 5 or 6 straps. Super easy. Most of them already have winches on the trailer. That's one thing you need to ask. Do the trailers have winches? And watch a YouTube on how to winch down, how to use straps. Basically, you throw that strap over the trailer, hook one side, put the other side in the winch, tighten it down. And super easy. You don't need a headboard on your truck. You don't need any other kind of flatbed equipment. But sometimes that's the difference between, having 5 or 6 straps is the difference between getting a $2 a mile load and a $3 a mile load. A lot of stuff going to Denver. Like I said before, I like it when they post a rate. This one at the top, it's $3 a mile, or close to it, but it's a starting point. You know that these people are already paying a decent rate, and you could probably talk them up a little bit more. I hate it when they don't put the rate on there. Here we go. This is one. Aurora, Illinois, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Paying almost $5 a mile. Let's see why. Round trip. There you go. So, yeah, people do it when they will do it. Oh, what I was going to say before, some of these, like this one up here, you look at this one going to Illinois to San Bernardino, California, 1,900 miles, they only want to pay $2,700. But you've got to look into it a little bit closer because you've got 25,000 pounds on this load. Let's look at it a little bit closer. Oh, that's a terrible rate, and somebody's going to take that. But some of these are LTL loads, so they'll pay you, $2,700 for that. But you can go, book another load to put on there with it. And suddenly you've got a, $5 a mile going to California. But, man, I can't believe that it's Impala Freight. They're getting people to take those loads for that amount. But that's the thing, people are so desperate to get back home to California or something. That was my theory, that there's so many drivers coming out of California, they'll take $1.50 a mile to get back. It's amazing. All right. A lot of straight box loads. Like I said, I'm going to look into that, but right off the bat, the rates aren't great, but you're getting you're in a smaller truck, getting better fuel mileage, but you're probably having to get in a hotel room every night, so that costs some money. All right, here's one. I'd take this one. Illinois to Manhattan, Kansas, 48 foot. A flatbed load, obviously paying almost $3 a mile. Yeah, not a bad load there. Here we go. Illinois to Little Rock, Arkansas. it's barely paying over $2 a mile, but it's an empty trailer. Yeah, so I'll emphasize it again. You've got to think about power only differently than you do flatbed or van. This one, yeah, it only pays a little over $2 a mile, but I'm going to be in and out of there in 15 minutes. And the same thing on the other end. So this, 640 miles turns into basically, depending on how fast you drive, 10 or 11 hours. And then you're only wasting 15 minutes on each end. But if you're going to pick up a van or a flatbed load, that's 10 or 11 hours driving and 2 to 3 hours picking up and 2 to 3 hours live unload. So all of a sudden, this one, you can be in and out, drop it on the other end, pick up another load, and be gone. So you got to think about it a little bit differently. Yeah, it doesn't pay as much, but there's not as much wasted time. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. This is going pretty long, but hope you've enjoyed that. You guys, if you want to see a certain area, just let me know.